Hey everybody, it's Sam with Wrestling Overtime, and we wanted to bring to you bright and early the news and updates for today, April the 4th, 2020, the first night of WrestleMania. So starting off tonight, or today, with news and updates. For those of you who didn't see, Tessa Blanchard and Eddie Edwards are going to challenge the North for the Tag Team Championships this Tuesday night on Impact. Also, what was announced last night that I found interesting that most people aren't talking about yet is Ric Flair was announced as Stone Cold Steve Austin's next guest on the Broken Skull Sessions. I'm hoping that Stone Cold digs really deep into his career and how it mixed with his personal life, as far as he lived the Ric Flair lifestyle for quite a while, and I hope that he actually talks about the different promotions that Ric Flair was in. I don't want him to concentrate on, just his time in WWE or just his time since he retired and that he's had some health scares here recently. I want him to concentrate. I'd like it to be long, and I would like for him to try to keep Ric Flair somewhat focused and just take him through the different stops that he actually has been on. Wrestling Votes has reported that WWE would reconsider taking a break post Wrestling Mania due to Florida's stay-at-home order. Now, the Raw on this coming Monday night after WrestleMania has already been shot. So the April 6th Raw After Mania will air on the USA Network. But WWE is talking about possibly taking a break. How is that going to work? What is USA Network going to put on? What is Fox going to put out on? Fox and FS1 have already taken a humongous hit with all of the different sports that they had planned for this spring. Fox and Fox Sports 1 had planned baseball. They had planned the XFL. They had planned NASCAR. And NASCAR includes not just the main NASCAR league, but also the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series. So, Fox Sports has taken a humongous hit, and if WWE goes on break, what are they going to do? Are they going to release WWE Network footage to them? Are we going to see more WrestleManias or highlights? I could see Fox on Friday night showing, the first part of WrestleMania 3, and then the following Friday night showing the next part of WrestleMania 3. Or something like that. But that is really throwing the networks into a quandary. But with Florida's stay-at-home order, WWE doesn't have the power to break it, and so many states are going to it that I don't see how they're going to be able to film any new episodes, and they did not take the time to film a bunch of episodes. So, I hope this report by Wrestling Votes is not right. I have a funny feeling, knowing their track record, Wrestling Votes is right, and I just wonder what we as fans are going to do. Now, there is a rumor by Sportskeeda's Tom Kaloyu, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, that Ronda Rousey is in negotiations with WWE for a new deal, which would see to return soon. And I know what a lot of you are hollering, because it's kind of the same thing I hollered. You're saying, whoa, that can't be right, because she signed a 3-year deal, and she hasn't spent 3 years in the WWE. She barely spent a year. So they should have her under contract for 2 more years. Yeah, that's probably right. But come on, we all know how Ronda Rousey is. She is more than happy to sit at her house at Browsy Acres and do YouTube cooking videos and check in on Instagram and make insulting to different people, or to get people stirred up on Twitter. So I think that this rumor may also be true. I think that WWE did approach Ronda Rousey. I think they want her back. She has been reported and has had pictures taken and film taken of her at Stamford, Connecticut, WWE's headquarters, going in for a meeting. And I think she has told them, in order to get me back, you have to redo my deal. And I can almost bet that new deal, number one, is going to be for probably a little bit more money. But I bet that new deal includes less dates. She really got tired of the road and the house show circuit. She loved being on the road at certain times or for a certain length of time. She's mentioned she didn't care to go on the road for 2 to 3 weeks if she would have gotten to come home for a couple of weeks and spent time with her husband. And then her husband also has kids, which are her stepkids that she is extremely close to. Plus, Ronda Rousey loves her farm. And see, I know a lot of you are thinking, well, how did she train in UFC? Well, think about it. In UFC, you have a match set for a certain date. Let's say June 1st. Well, you go into camp for 6 to 8 weeks. Before that, you do your match, and then you're off. And if your next match is not scheduled until November 1st, you don't go back into camp until 6 to 8 weeks before November 1st. So you have all of that time off. So being on the road constantly and not getting to see her husband and her kids and her farm and her mom and her family, it really drained her. And so I look for that is the reason she's doing a new deal. It's not about the money, guys. Ronda Rousey has money. Will she take a pay raise? Yes, of course she's going to take a pay raise. But she wants the dates that she's required to show up and perform. She wants those cut down. And in a recent interview, Ronda Rousey said, I would love to be able to show up and surprise people on house shows. I would love to wrestle on house shows. She said that was one of her favorite things because she got to spend more time with fans. She got to shake hands. She got to actually meet people while she was walking around in the towns and the cities. She loved that part. Like I said, she wants a deal where she goes on the house show circuit for a period of time, and then she gets time off, and then she goes back on the house show circuit for a little while. Also, another rumor by Sportskeeda is that some of the WWE roster are worried that they could be released now because WWE has kind of insinuated, and there has been some scuttlebutt talk at WWE headquarters that they are going to have some budget cuts. Just due to the pandemic, due to their merch sales are way, way down. And then they've had to cut all of their house shows. So with not having live shows, they're not getting that attendance, and they're not selling the merch like they usually do. So they are taking a hit and losing money. So there are a lot of wrestlers that think, man, oh man, they're paying me to stay home. I bet they release them. And so here's the thing. The wrestlers are worrying themselves sick because the wrestlers that aren't on TV or that are getting paid to stay home on their contracts always assumed that if WWE cut them and released them, then they would get signed by AEW or New Japan or Impact or MLW. Well, they don't have that option anymore. New Japan, MLW, Impact, all of that, they're closed. And AEW is losing money now too. So they aren't going to take on and sign just anybody. There's no way that if they just starting releasing jobber talent, or they start releasing some people that have been sitting home for over a year, AEW is not going to pick them up. Now, will AEW, if WWE releases someone like the Revival, pick them up? Yeah, probably. Jim Ross said on Wrestling Observer Radio that AEW taped the Jon Moxley Jake Hager World Championship title match already, and they taped it at Daily Place. So it's actually been in the works for quite a while, and they went ahead and taped it while they have been in Jacksonville the last couple weeks. Now this week, they were in a undisclosed location, which leads me to the next story. According to Brad Shepard, AEW shot this week at the One Fall Pyre Factory in Georgia, and it is owned by AEW's QT Marshall and the former WCW pro wrestler Glacier. And they were planning on continuing to shoot there. However, Georgia also did a stay-at-home order. And so Georgia officials actually showed up on Wednesday night to make sure that they were following all regulations and that they didn't have more than the allotted number of crew in the area at any one time. And they wanted to make sure that AEW quit filming there. I believe it was Thursday at 6 p.m. is when it went into effect. However, Fightful is reporting that over the last 2 weeks while they were at Daily Place in Jacksonville, Florida, and this week while they were at One Fall Pyre Factory in Georgia, that AEW already had their storyline set up, and they went ahead and taped about 2 months of content. Now let me repeat that. They taped about 2 months of content. Wade Keller said that if the travel ban eased up, then some of the matches that they went ahead and filmed could be moved to AEW Dark and they could go back to filming live. However, what happened was AEW already knew about the TNT title championship tournament, and so they have already filmed that entire tournament up until the finals, which were set for Double or Nothing on May 23rd. Guys, today is April 4th. So basically what I've told you in the last 3 stories, just to kind of recap, JR confirmed, yes, they've already taped Moxley versus Hager, so we'll definitely see that. It was taped at Daily Place. Brad Chapler talked about how they moved after filming in Jacksonville, Florida. They started filming in Georgia to get around the Florida stay-at-home ban. Unlike WWE, who stayed there to film. AEW moved their operation to a state that didn't have the stay-at-home travel ban. So, what they have been doing for the last 3 to 3.5 weeks, while they had talent that came into Jacksonville, Florida, and into Georgia, they have been filming as much content as they could. They wrote out the storylines, how they wanted it to go, who they wanted to fight with who, and got storylines situated, and they filmed possibly up to 2 months of content, including the whole TNT Championship tournament up until the finals, which are supposed to be finalized at Double or Nothing in Vegas on May 23rd. Here's the thing. Everyone that has talked to everyone in AEW, everything I've read, every podcast that I have listened to, every Twitter account that has a source is saying that it right now is looking like Double or Nothing will not be happening in Vegas on May 23rd. Since the Vegas Strip is still shut down. They have not opened those hotels back up. They are not doing any business. And of course, they are taking major hits. However, they are watching doctors' daily updates, and they are saying that Tony Khan is hopeful because the peak of the coronavirus pandemic is supposed to be in early May. So they're hoping some travel bans will be lifted and the Vegas Strip will start up as soon as possible and get back running. And they think if it does that, of course, Vegas is going to welcome AEW Double or Nothing to please come and have a show there. And of course, wrestling fans everywhere want to flock there because they haven't seen wrestling in months now. And all the sports are shut down. And they're talking about being shut down until June or July. So, looking at this situation, Double or Nothing, possibly, as of right now, could be the first pay-per-view that's back live. That WWE is not obviously having live WrestleMania. I look for their April pay-per-view to be canceled, and so it looks like AEW's Double or Nothing may be the first pay-per-view that we actually get back that would be live. Now, I just want to take a couple minutes. I'm not going to go into as much detail as I did last week about the Dark Side of the Ring, but I do want to talk just a little bit about the Dark Side of the Ring this week. This week's topic was New Jack. I'm going to be real honest with you guys. I had never heard of him. I had never heard of these stories. And so the whole entire time I was watching this, I was shaking my head. I was like, are you kidding? There is no way. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's kind of what I was doing the whole entire time. I cannot imagine that this guy wrestled and did things in the ring or right outside of the ring, but during a wrestling show to legitimately hurt people and that charges weren't filed. I mean, I understand it's really hard to prove that it wasn't a accident. And yes, I'm doing the finger quotes. Because, the outcome is predetermined. But the thing is, we all know that they try to not get the wrestlers hurt because they don't want them off the shows. They want them to continue to make money for the company. So I cannot believe that promotions, number one, kept this guy around when he was hurting people, or continued to hire him after he hurt people. Now, the way they told the story about the 17-year-old, Eric, and I'm not even going to pretend that I know how to pronounce that last name, but the 17-year-old that lied about how old he was and lied about his experience, that I can totally understand why the kid and the parents did not, really get him banned from wrestling, because so many people were involved in that. And with the kid looking so big and having a gimmick and talking the talk, a lot of people just believed him. But, the fact that he threw someone purposely off a scaffolding and basically had him, I don't know, I think they said in the documentary 1 to 2 feet from hitting concrete and basically almost killing the guy. I don't see how he continued to get hired. How is he still getting hired after them showing the video of him stabbing someone for real in the ring? I don't know how he didn't get a reputation that was totally spread around, and why people continued to work with him. The video they showed of different promotions and the stunts he pulled, the barbed wire wrapped around a stick, and him using the other end that actually hurt and busted people open. Him taking a blade and it didn't cut the guy the first couple times. So he basically dug it in deeper and sliced a way larger gash than was supposed to be. So the guy would just bleed and bleed and bleed. I cannot imagine that he's continuing to be hired. They had, if you watched After Dark, which comes on right after they show the Dark Side of the Ring, they show the Dark Side of the Ring at 10, and then they show a show called After Dark at 11, right after it. If you watched that, they actually had New Jack on there, and they had Sandman. And New Jack said, "Hey, Sandman, I haven't seen you in a little while." And Sandman said, "Yes, you did." And he said, "No, I haven't seen you forever." And he was like, "No, we just worked together a couple months ago in West Virginia in a show." And I was ready to throw up my arms and be like, "Are you serious? How on earth is this guy still being hired?" And so, I don't know. Maybe the Dark Side of the Ring opened some people's eyes up. It sure opened mine up. I'm glad that I really didn't know who this guy was, and that I never saw him perform. You know, I didn't go to any indie events. I don't know what I would do if I was at an indie event, you know, somewhere in my state, and basically saw him stab somebody or throw them off a scaffolding and have them bounce. I mean, I don't know what I would do. So it was interesting. I'm going to be honest with you. Even though I'm ranting about it a little bit, I'm going to tell you, I love Dark Side of the Ring. And this season so far has been awesome. Like I said, I had never heard of New Jack. I was on the edge of my seat. I was watching it very intently the whole entire time. Now, they announced next week is gonna be Brawl for All. I can't wait. Cannot wait. I have heard about Brawl for All, I don't know, for, a year and a half now. And the reason why I say just that long is because at the time this took place, I wasn't watching WWE. I had a job that kept me from watching it. And so I started listening to podcasts about a year and a half ago, I guess it was. And so I heard about the Brawl from All, or the Brawl for All, on Bruce Pritchard's show. And he basically told the story of it and how Vince Russo came up with this and how it was basically a real fight, a real brawl, and how confusing it was for wrestling fans because they weren't sure really what they were seeing because it wasn't a wrestling match. And sometimes, they were ready to watch this brawl, and it turned out to be, 10 seconds long, where one of the wrestlers who knew what they were doing walked up to a wrestler who didn't really know what he was doing and just knocked him out. He also talked about the numerous guys that got legitimate injuries, and they were legitimately out of wrestling or were never the same after it. And so I am interested in seeing what the Dark Side of the Ring says about it. I've heard JR talk about it, how it is the stupidest thing that he thinks that WWE ever did. So I'm interested in, number one, seeing who all they interview. They showed in the previews that they are interviewing Vince Russo. So I'm interested in kind of seeing what he says now. I am sure that they probably interviewed Jim Cornette and Bruce Pritchard. And so I'm also interested in seeing them. I want them to interview the wrestlers that are involved, but I don't know if any of them agreed to it or not. So I am excited about this Dark Side of the Ring. Now, I encourage any of you who do not listen to Grillin' JR on a regular basis, or don't even know that Grillin' JR podcast even exists. It is done with Conrad Thompson and Jim Ross, of course. He, every week, is doing a part of his podcast is called The Dark Side of Wrestling. And he is actually talking about the topics that are on Dark Side of the Ring. And his podcast about the New Jack situation and listening to his comments and his opinions were absolutely unbelievable. So I am definitely recommending that to you guys. Go listen to Grilling JR with Conrad Thompson, especially the episodes in the last 2 weeks about the Dark Side of the Ring episodes and what he has to say about Chris Benoit, about Eddie Guerrero, and about this week's on New Jack. But that is today, April 4th, news and updates. Here is what you guys have to look forward to. Here in a couple hours, I will be releasing the Raves and Rants review of WWE's SmackDown from last night, which would be Friday, April 3rd. Any news or updates that breaks throughout today, I will do a news and updates podcast before WrestleMania. WrestleMania's kickoff show starts at 6 p.m. Like I said earlier this week, I will probably be on my phone on and off Twitter making my tweets and comments about it because there are some matches that I could care less about. So unless they do something exciting or they swerve it or they cancel those matches, then I'll probably be tweeting. So follow me at Wrestling Overtime Online. And then as soon as WrestleMania Night 1, which is tonight, as soon as it is over, I will do a results-only show, which will be the quick and easy, fast, and nitty-gritty just results of what happened in Night 1 WrestleMania, and then I will do my raves and reviews of Night 1 WrestleMania after that fact. Look forward to either today or tomorrow. I plan on releasing an episode about the beginning of being the elite, of sitting down and watching the first couple episodes of Being the Elite that the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, now Hangman Page, Cody, all of them, Marty Squirrel, I believe Flip Gordon's in it. I mean, as they continued, they got a lot more people involved. But I plan on starting from the beginning and talking at different episodes about what happens and how it changes and grows. So look for that sometime this weekend. I don't know exactly what time I'll be releasing that. But that is the rest of your weekend. And I look forward to talking to you guys soon. If you guys have any questions, comments, problems, protests, feel free to write me at wrestlingovertime@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter or Facebook on Wrestling Overtime. Or, as always, you guys can DM me or messenger me or anything like that. And I look forward to hearing from you, but you will definitely be hearing from me.